Reactor online. Sensors online. Weapons online. All systems nominal.
Hello everyone, Carrie here, and today we are talking about pretty much it's a Catalyst Game Labs wrap-up or roundup of what was shown off at Adepticon, at least as far as box sets, miniatures, stuff like that. So we're going to go ahead and talk about that today, and I'm going to try to insert slides. I'm recording this on OBS with my notes up on the screen so I can just see it that way, but I'm going to definitely try to get slides in here. That way you can actually have some stuff to look at while I talk about this. So the first thing that I want to look at is the announcement of the Aerospace Fighter Force Packs. Now, they had some of these on display with the miniatures from the box set and not Scouring Sands, Snowblind, and also the starter box. And the ones that they had on display were for the House Steiner Aerospace Force Packs, which will be coming out soon. And there are going to be two separate Force Packs, each with 3 fighters. The first of these is going to be I shouldn't say the first of these, but one of these is going to have a Shalone, Slayer, and Sholagar. The other one is going to have a Chippewa, Lucifer, and Sagelets. I believe that's how you pronounce it. The ones that were on display were the Chippewa, Lucifer, and Sagelets at the convention at Adepticon. Also, they're planning for future Force Packs for these, and it's been discussed about doing a Kickstarter, but nothing is in the, they're not saying, hey, we are going to do a Kickstarter for these, or we're not. It's been discussed. They haven't put anything out about that, obviously. So I am excited to see these. I'm not an aerospace person myself, but I do like fighter jets, and this is one of those ways that one of the things that I like can be brought into the game, as far as just painting and hobbying, and they would be more of a display thing for me than anything, and also a reminder if I have airstrikes or something in Classic or Alpha Strike. So, I'd love to hear comments and everything about those. The other thing, or the next thing I should say, is the starter box and core set. Now, so far, what we have here as far as the starter box, the confirmed minis are the Conito and Hammerhead. I think I pronounced that right this time. And give me 1 second. My cat's trying to get on my painting table. Okay, much to Logan's chagrin, I have deterred him from being on the painting table. I don't know if he wants to say hi to everyone, but he doesn't seem to. So anyway, confirmed for the starter is the Conito and Hammerhead, and that is for a shark versus bear theme, which is kind of cool and kind of cute. So as far as this, the first missions in that starter box use simplified rules for the mechs. Later missions will introduce the rest of the technology. The Conito will only be available in the starter box, which I'm not a big fan of that. I think they're probably going to do the same thing with the core box. Speaking of which, the core box itself is going to be set in 3052. It has miniatures confirmed in it, as we saw, of the Regent, Madcap Mark II, Uzil, Rakshasa, Eris, Hollander, Solitaire, and Vulture 4. Once again, as far as I know, most of these are just in the box set, and that's a whole subject, a whole can of worms. I think I've mentioned it a few times where I really don't enjoy things being locked in the box sets. I would rather see them released out into the wild, maybe not all in the same force pack, but in different force packs. I mean, you could definitely do that. So, as far as these mechs, there are new variants of the Rakshasa, Uzil, Madcap Mark II, and Hollander. I am a little, trepidatious about a Rakshasa refit during the Il Clan era. since the trend is to go ahead and put clan tech on everything. And with this, I worry that we're going to basically end up with a Rakshasa that's loaded out similar to a Mad Cat, or they're going to just upgrade all the weapons with clan tech, use the extra tonnage for heat sinks, but you're still essentially getting a Mad Cat of some sort at that point. I really hope that's not the thing. I have heard that, I want to say Randall mentioned this, the Hollander has a heavy Gauss rifle. So I don't know what that thing's going to look like. I have not tried to put it together yet in any of the mech building programs just to see how you would squeeze that in there and make it work. So, that's something that I'm really curious about, and we'll have to see how that goes. Now, as far as price points on these, the core box, they were looking around $70. The starter box is $30. And the core rules are going to be $50. So that's not a bad price for everything. Also, I guess I'll do it right now. I am sponsored by Fortress Miniatures and Games. They are doing pre-orders for these. And give me one sec. I'm going to pull up the prices. So if you go through fortressminiaturesandgames.com, they total out all three together to $119.97. And if I recall correctly, Fortress does do international shipping. So to everyone in Europe and everywhere else who may feel like they have to wait for this until it gets overseas, that is one possible way. If Fortress doesn't do international shipping by some chance, which, like I said, I believe that Bobby does, then feel free to contact me in the comments if you're overseas, and we can see what we can do to work out getting them to you before you have to wait for them to get over to you. So let's see, what else do we have here? Alright, so getting into Ace's Snowblind. There are some rules clarifications and updates to the rules for Aces. There is a new infantry repair mechanic. So I don't remember exactly how it works in Scouring Sands, but I guess this gives you a better way to do it, or an easier way. There is a new deck that's going to be included for Juggernauts. So we'll have another classification deck, and also so as far as this, you don't need to buy Scouring Sands to play this. You don't need the decks from that. This comes with new decks for all the units, but you can mix the decks. So you can end up with like taking your Snowblind deck and your Scouring Sands deck, and if you have two brawlers, you can double those up. And they said that as far as the decks, they are a little bit different in priority and everything from Scouring Sands. So it does like change up the deck a little bit. You can essentially play it vanilla, or you can just like merge stuff together, and it gives you a bit more variety. So as far as the players, they're going to be playing as a mercenary unit that's caught up in the middle of the Dominion Civil War. So it sort of gives you a boots on the ground feel of what's going on. You'll be playing through missions in that, dealing with Clan Ghost Bear, with people who want to join the Star League, with people who don't want to join the Star League. And I'm not quite sure how that's going to work out. I do think they said it has like 3 endings. So I'm sure one of them's the canonical ending as far as like, here's what happened. But there are the 2 other endings as well, where it's like, almost like when you played if you ever played MechWarrior 4 and you had the options to do this, that, or the other, and it changed the end of the game. So this is also the same here. I think it was you could save your sister or let them unalive her, as far as I remember. And depending on that, it was who ascended to the throne on Kentares. Anyway, I'm getting off topic here. Also, they acknowledged that apparently they forgot to put the BSP cards for the Fulcrum hover tanks in Scouring Sands. They'll be including those in the Snowblind box. And what are we getting here as far as new terrain, miniatures, what tokens come with it, and what are you going to need to do that. So it comes with new terrain of new stackable hills. So the old ones, or I shouldn't say the old ones, but the ones in Scouring Sands are not very stackable. These new ones will be. Also, you'll be getting new buildings. I want to say it's 2 new buildings. They remind me a lot of the Hextech buildings in the shape and everything. And you'll also be getting 2 solar, or not 2, but you're getting some solar arrays, probably 2 or 3. I'm not sure. So it comes with some new terrain, which is kind of cool. It gives you some options, and it gives you a little bit of different flavor for the world and what's going on there. So it's not just, hey, I'm replaying with the same terrain over and over and over, which is cool. As far as plastic minis in the box, we have the Firemoth G, the Arctic Cheetah A, the Rime Otter Prime, the Mongrel A, the Novacat B, the Kingfisher C, the Grizzly 3, and a Viking 2C. Now, the first 7 are not, I mean, they're good mechs, but they're not like, oh my god, I really don't want to deal with that. The Viking 2C, I don't know if any of you have ever played against it in Alpha Strike. I have at one of the Southern Assaults, and it's not really like, oh my god, it's super threatening. I mean, it is threatening, but it's more of, it can put out consistent damage, and it just takes a beating. Like, I want to say it moves 6. It is super slow. It has no TMM, but you can just wail on it, and it just never wants to go down. It's just a constant fight to get it to go down. Now, as far as the cardboard tokens in the box, we'll be getting 2 Mana Cores, 2 Vedettes, 2 LRM Carriers, 2 SRM Carriers, 2 Long Toms, and 5 Elementals. Now, the Mana Cores, Vedettes, and the Missile Carriers are all in the Battle and Fire Force Pack. So you can pick those up with 1 Force Pack. Awesome, great, it's wonderful. The Long Toms are in the Objectives Force Pack, and it only comes 1 per Force Pack. Now, as a side note, I know that they don't look quite the same as the new Long Toms. They look quite different, actually, but you can get the Long Toms from Ironwind Metals, which they're nice miniatures. They're dated, obviously, but they will work for those purposes if you want to have everything on the field and not have any cardboard tokens, which I totally get and understand. Also, there is another Force Pack that has been announced, Camacho's Caballeros, and this is going to be coming out this fall. It includes the Phoenix Hawk 7K, the Hunchback 4P, an Albatross, and a Grand Titan, which some previews have already been seen on Big Red's channel for the Grand Titan. So we already sort of know that, that's a thing. I'm not a big Merrick fan, but I guess, if I get a Grand Titan and an Albatross, and the Hunchback 4P, I like that just for myself. I don't know, like that. I might end up throwing that into a different factions unit, or I might just throw this all into a House Merrick unit, or paint it up as Camacho's Caballeros. I don't think they really have a definitive scheme, though. I think it's more of like warriors get to decorate their stuff the way they want it, as opposed to this is how it works, So we'll have to see on that. The Battle Armor Force Packs, they are delayed right now due to production issues. Essentially, the plastic that's used is not up to the task of making little tiny battle armor. We saw this with the Inner Sphere battle armor, which, while serviceable, are not the best as far as sculpts go. In fact, I sort of prefer the Ironwind Metals miniatures for that because they do hold more detail. Also, word to the wise, if you're doing the Ironwind Metals battle armors, the Marauder battle armor, if you ever need to use it or want it, is massive and is big enough to be like a proto mech. But there are Ironwind Metals battle armor that are available, and they look wonderful. I highly recommend them if you're looking for battle armor. They have a whole bunch of different ones, and they're really well done. I do think some of them used the MechWarrior click tech stuff for their sculpts. For example, the Marauder, which seems more in scale with the click tech stuff than it does with classic, but it's still sort of like a 6 of one, half dozen of the other type thing. You're still getting battle armor. They're just going to be scaled weird in some cases. The Celestials Force Pack is still scheduled. He didn't, not Ray. Bill didn't give any specific information there. He just said it is still scheduled because someone brought up more level 2s, and he was like, "Yeah, no, we have the Celestials Force Pack coming. That's a level 2, so you'll be able to use that." There's, the Ares Force Pack is coming out after the Clan Wolf Support Star. So I don't know what's in the Clan Wolf Support Star, but that is scheduled for release, and then, of course, the Ares will be coming out after that. One other thing I forgot to mention about Camacho's Caballeros is it is going to be a Barnes & Noble. It seems all the mercenary units are Barnes & Nobles. Once again, if this is something that any of my European listeners need, want to get their hands on while it's a Barnes & Noble exclusive, let me know in the comments below. We will see what we can do. Then we have Fox Patrol. I did ask directly about this because Fox Patrol was scheduled towards the end, according to that leak it says leak, but he put out the list. So, according to the list that was put out like 2 years ago now, Fox Patrol is like right at the end of the list. And I directly asked him, I was like, "Hey," because he had the chat thing going in a fireside chat. I was like, "Hey, have y'all looked at moving Fox Patrol up in the order of force packs simply because of the popularity?" And he said that it has been looked at being moved up in the force pack line, but they don't have anything definitive right now. So, I get that. Other news, let's see, the Draconis Reach book, which covers the border of the Fed Sons and the Draconis Combine, much like Hinterlands did, so Hotspots, Draconis Reach, that they had some at Adepticon. I was about to say Origins. It's not Origins. They had some at Adepticon. They should have that out soon. And my notes are wrong there. It says Gen Con. It's Adepticon. Old box set mechs. They'll be finding new homes in future force packs as remastered sculpts. New core products will be available for pre-order through Alliance, and as I mentioned before, they are available for pre-order through FortressMiniaturesandGames.com. I will try to leave a description, or try to leave a link in the description to all three of them. Standalone Aces Decks and Counters packs. That was something I was asked for, simply because one, the cardboard train is really nice to have. You can pack it up, throw it in like a box, and it doesn't take up any room. In fact, when I went to LA to run Western Assault for the first time, I took a bunch of cardboard train with me. And I actually bought some when I was there to help fill out tables even more with buildings. Because I like buildings. They're really, I don't know, it's really interesting. I have a thing for having buildings on the tabletop. It just feels more, I don't know, it gives it a little bit more scale. At least in my opinion. So yeah, that was asked about, as well as standalone Aces decks, because, some people don't want to go and do the whole, hey, I want to get this campaign and all these miniatures. They just want to be able to play Alpha Strike. And, I sort of get it, like, it's I think the price point on that, I actually have that in notes here, price point on that was $85 for Snowblind. So yeah, I get that. It's very sometimes you don't want to pay $85 for a deck of cards to play Aces. I totally get it. So that's something that may be released in the future. They want to go ahead and get through all of the Aces boxes first, which I sort of wish they would maybe be like, okay, so we got 2 of them out, let's release this counters and card thing that gives you all the cards and counters from these 2, and then as they release more, like every 2 iterations, drop more cards, drop more counters. I don't think you could go wrong with that product. You could sell it as one thing and probably sell it for like 25, $30, maybe a little bit more. Nobody's going to complain about that. As far as the Forgotten Mechs from Technical Readout 2750, they're still being considered for homes. This is something I also asked about because I felt one of my favorite mechs is the Champion, and it feels very weird that all these other 2750 mechs got pushed in that first initial, hey, here's Comstar level 2s, and then things like the Wyvern, Thorn, Champion, they were left out. And I feel like, I kind of wish they would just do another level 2 and include those 3 plus some other ones, maybe some oddball Star League stuff that you don't really see a home for in other Force packs, but we know existed. So that would be nice. But right now, my crusade to get a plastic Champion continues to this day. They should have C-scale Battle Masters out at Gen Con. Also, the last of my notes here, the Clan Trial and Honor Rules. Someone asked about this. The Clan Trial and Honor Rules, they've tried a few different iterations. It's not really something that's easy to do, because I want to say the last one I remember, you could only break visual contact with your opponent so many times, and depending on what you did, like I think back shots, you got Desgra points, or whatever they wanted to call it, basically a way of saying, hey, you're dishonorable. So they've been looking at how to redo those because, it's something that's hard to balance. It's hard to make work and bring that the way the fiction works into the universe. Also, Force Manual, Clan PDFs. So if you're not familiar, the new Force Manuals, which are so far the Mercenaries and the Karita are sort of like a rehash of the combat manuals. So the new Force Manuals, they're supposed to have Clan updates released as PDFs, so that you can take that Force Manual. It gives you up to the Clan Invasion era. And then there's a updated PDF that's supposed to come out that's for download that'll have all the information for everything, as far as the Clan era, like instead of how Mercenaries are, how that looks and works in the Clan era, how the Draconis Combine, Federated Suns, so forth. And those are stuck in layout. So that kind of sucks, because I would really like... part of me would really like if they had just done the Force Manuals in the Clan era, so they weren't straight up rehashing some of the two that we already had out, the Mercenaries and Draconis Combine. So, yeah, I have mixed feelings on this, because like I said, I kind of wish this had just been done from the get-go, instead of being like, okay, late Succession Wars and Clan Invasion, but then again, you need stuff for those eras too. So it's sort of one of those weird, once again, 6 to 1, half dozen the other. Which way do you go? And I feel like this is a good compromise, but I kind of wish they would push them out a little bit quicker. That way we could use those as they come out in the Clan era. So anyway, that is it for my, my little going over everything from Adepticon as far as what because there was a lot to parse. I'm not going to lie. There was a ton to parse. And, watching the interviews, it was really awesome. I had to work some of the days, so I had to kind of catch up. And it was really fun to see. Also, they did a play of one of the missions from Snowblind. I keep wanting to say Scouring Sands. I know it's not. They did one of the missions. It looks really fun. I like the way that they've done it. So yeah, I'm just excited for everything that's coming out. I already have those books pre-ordered, the book and the Force boxes, the core box and the starter box pre-ordered. If you want to pre-order them yourself, like I said, head on over to fortressminiaturesandgames.com. And you can get them for, I can't remember exactly how much he takes off, but he takes a percentage off. And, it looks like those are going to be really cool. Also, the podcast. I will be releasing an episode in the next few days. Today, obviously, was normally going to be 5-minute mechs, but I felt that this is more important to get out. This Thursday, we're going to be seeing the Draconis Combine Ranger Lance, and then after that, I have the Elysian Lancer's Lance sitting on the table that I need to go over and do all the stuff for. So that is everything for today. If you'd like to support the channel, go ahead and check us out at patreon.com/unicorn company, or you can or you can become a channel member by clicking on the little thing down below the video. I'd really appreciate it. Every little bit helps, and I want to thank all my patrons, my channel members, my sponsors. Y'all make all of this possible. So until next time, stay safe out there, Mech Warriors. We have a lot to look forward to. This is Carrie, signing off. Thank you to my patrons. At Captain, we have Sarah. Lieutenants, we have Boy in a Box and Nasty Taurus. Sergeants, BZ Archer, Steven, Faz, Housemaster Poding, and Country Fried Minis. And our cadets, Scott, Jamie, NB Kaiju, Domini, and Brother Carr. I also want to thank my channel members, Miss J. Speechly, Anonymous Only Agent, and Greg Swars. And finally, Unicorn Company's sponsor, Fortress Miniatures and Games. Check them out. They're a huge supporter of the community and the best place to get all your BattleTech needs taken care of. If you want to support Unicorn Company, you can become a channel member here on YouTube or a patron at patreon.com/unicorn company. Links to my sponsors, also Country Fried Minis and Scott's Game Room, will be in the description. Thank you all, and stay safe out there, Mech Warriors. This is Carrie, signing off.